Hello again, everyone. This is Coaching the Bible, episode 192, season 4, episode 32. Welcome back. Welcome back. I hope you are doing well today. Our portion of the week is known as the power portion of Bahar. It's the second to last in the third book of the 5 books of Moses, the book known as Leviticus. Our topic today is on whole person growth. But first, as always, the win and the learning of the week. The win of the week is the following thing. I survived this afternoon, I think is the right way to say that. No other way to describe that. My coffee is a little bit spiked right now, not typically the case when I'm recording. But this afternoon we had a little bit of an issue in our house in terms of some water in the kitchen, and it got a little messy, and we had a plumber here, and he really saved the day. There's no other way to say that. And it just sort of moved me into not a great mood, I would say. But I'm super proud of myself. And as Naomi pointed out, I held my cool and I didn't lose my mind while it was happening, because it just felt like so many things are going on. And just that was not something I needed to add to the list. And yet there it was. So that was the win of the week. It's a strange win of the week. But keeping your cool in tough circumstances when it may be warranted to lose your cool is a win. And it's a learned skill that, comes over time, and it doesn't always happen. Sometimes you do lose, and sometimes you do lose your cool. Today was not one of those moments. So it's a cool and a quick and a good win, and thankfully everything is seemingly fixed in the kitchen today. And as we go into the Sabbath, all seems to be okay there. The learning of the week is twofold, but it's related to that same incident. One, that plumber really restored my faith in humanity to some degree. It sounds like a simple thing, but it wasn't a simple thing, because it's a Friday afternoon. Typically speaking, Friday here is a day when people aren't working. He does bill himself out as someone who does work 24/6, okay? But on a Friday afternoon, when he sort of was done, he was still willing to come to our house to do it. And he said simply why: because he couldn't imagine going into the Sabbath with a kitchen in that kind of situation. How could anyone celebrate or go through a Sabbath like that and have to wait till Sunday? So he came. And so I really appreciated that he did that. He really very much restored my sense and appreciation of humanity. Because as a lot of weeks, and another week, a very difficult week here. They're all very difficult, it seems, right now. And so when you get a little bit of a lift from somebody, that is worthwhile. The other learning from this situation is this. I had noticed that something was sort of brewing in the kitchen for some time. And instead of immediately jumping on it and taking care of it, I was sort of hoping we would get through the weekend and then take care of it next week with the person who regularly comes and does sort of plumbing work around their house. And that didn't work out. So the learning really is, when you see the problem, even if it's early on in that process, jump on that problem and take care of it. Do not wait, because otherwise you find yourself mopping the floors for 20 minutes and trying to keep the water from going down the steps, into other rooms, all other places, and messy situation, but it all worked out. Okay. Our topic of the week is whole person growth. The other term, the way it's described, is which I really love as a term, but it's a little bit of a mouthful, called holistic empowerment. And this is a really great leadership skill, but also really a sort of a great, I think, fundamental value that you can employ and begin to bring into being in your world. Because I do think, it can transform your leadership style wherever that may be, in your office, in your company, with your team, partners, whatever. But I think also that in other spaces in your own home, that building or fostering an environment and a culture where whole person growth is the core, I think you get a lot better ultimately. The results are ultimately a lot better. The people ultimately a lot better. Everyone's happier. And so let's understand what this is. What is whole person growth, or holistic empowerment? This is the idea of nurturing and developing every aspect of the individual, and not just their professional skills, but also their emotional, their physical, and their social well-being. And to take this sort of comprehensive approach it really does attempt to ensure that individuals are achieving their full potential in all areas of their life. And so it matters because the research does show that when people do feel supported in all aspects of their lives, they're more engaged, they're more productive, they're more loyal, and ultimately more successful. And as a leader, and again, whatever environment that is, communal, home, employment, work, whatever that is, city, it's the responsibility to really create that environment where this development can actually thrive. And so we'll talk for a minute just about the biblical side of it and talk a little bit about the research and the theory around it, because I think it's important to sort of understand that. But the idea here is this. This very much relates to the idea of give a person a fish to eat for a day, teach a person to fish, they eat for the rest of their lives, is sort of the approach. There's an immediate hit, there's an immediate moment, there's an immediate opportunity to solve the problem for the moment. Then there's also the approach is I can help solve this long term. We talked about this idea a little bit in preemptive benevolence way back when. That one I made up as a term, but holistic empowerment actually is a legit term. The idea being that we can be prescriptive and preemptive in how we're able to help people in other places in their life. And so empowerment theory here is the idea that, yes, this person coming to me right now for a donation, for just charity, they need money. I can help them right now. But I could also help them in the long term. There's a lot more that I could do for them that actually makes it better. Someone on our team has a fault or a flaw. They made an error. They really messed up big time. So I could end it right now. Or if it's not fatal, I could use it as a teachable moment and teach them and help them become better and have full person, whole person growth into the future. They can then be empowered to make better, smarter, more effective, more successful decisions in the future because of what happened in this moment. So instead of simply just pushing them out of the way and fixing it myself, I'm allowing them the opportunity to do that. It's very, very powerful. And so where does it come up in the Bible is this. If you notice that when the Bible describes in Leviticus the idea of giving charity to the poor, it doesn't simply just say, give them money. Take a look at the ideas that we have where in a couple of portions back, I think it's in Kedoshim, the idea, or actually last week also I think as well, when we have poor people, the obligation is to leave a corner of the field unharvested, or anything that falls is to belong to them. The easiest way would be to just sort of collect it all up into a bunch and then hand it over to them. That's not the way it works. Well, the way it works is that we leave that entire section of the field unharvested so that they can then come in themselves and do the work, because there is an enhanced experience, an empowering experience of the poor person doing the work of harvesting the sheaths, putting that together and then taking it home. You can remember from the book of Ruth, very much the case. Easily Boaz could have taken care of everything, but in fact, Ruth, day after day after day, goes to the field to collect what she needs. It's not popular in parts of the world to, quote unquote, force or push, what they would call workfare for welfare, the idea of making people work to earn that living as opposed to just simply giving it as a handout. The handouts don't work. They work for the moment, but ultimately they don't work. So wholesale empowerment of the individual, having them do the work, ultimately is more successful. If a person comes to you and they have a problem, again, you could provide them with the financial need that they have, but also you could work with them to make it better, right? If you're thinking through what's the best way to go about this, that's not the best way to go about this. That's the fastest way to go about it, but there's a better way. And I used to think that wasn't true, but then I shifted gears. I used to have, and I still have this on occasion, where people come to the door for charity. Less so maybe now, but still happens. And there's a few of them, and there's one or two of them who every time they come to the house, they tell me about the work that they're doing. I'm working here, I'm working there, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And for them, first of all, I like to hear it because I want to feel like they're doing something and not just taking, which I think is important. But also for them, it's very empowering for them because they definitely feel better about the ask when it is that they're also contributing to the work, to their needs. And they're not just simply taking from society. They're not welfare cases in that sense. They're earning a little bit of that living. They're giving some of that. They're working for it, and they're paying it in that way. And that's much better for everybody involved. Society's better. They're better. The relationship is better. I feel better about giving when that's the case. There was a guy back in New York who used to come to our house all the time. He was a little bit wild. And at a certain point, I told him I was going to stop giving him charity unless he got a job. And so he went. He got a job as a cab driver, as a taxi driver. And he came to me and showed me his license and his proof of employment. And I was happy then to sort of, contribute my part to his, his success, because he was now contributing to his success as well. It's more of a partnership in his overall growth, and then moving into a space where he no longer needed to be in a position where he was coming to me. That is better for society. That is better for the team when it is that the person makes the error, makes the mistake, and so on, is to sort of put that into play. This very much fits into, I wouldn't call it tough love, but it's very much the idea that if I want to care for other people, if I want to show respect and dignity to other people, it doesn't come simply by just giving them everything. It comes by giving them the opportunity to do things better. So ultimately, when we talk about charity in Jewish law, the highest form of charity really is giving a person work. It's not just giving them a handout, right? Because that is better. That's better for everybody, is putting them into a position where they can succeed. And so the fundamental underlying theory here is very much, it sits within a mixture of philosophy and science, social science, positive psychology and social and empowerment theory, which is the idea that when people gain control of their lives, they achieve much greater personal growth. When people are more positive and they're thinking about their overall well-being, then ultimately they're going to succeed at a much higher level, right? The study is very clear, the data is very clear also, that when people are dealing with multiple aspects of their well-being at the same time, it could be hard, it could be difficult, it could be a lot of work, it ultimately leads to greater, better mental health outcomes. And if we're able to support our people, the team's growth holistically, not just their growth, if they're an accountant and their accounting ability, but holistically, overall, their overall growth, their level of intellect, their level of awareness, their level of understanding of our business and what we do, why it's important, what we do, how we do it, and so on, their productivity actually goes up as well. So then how do we then bring that into being? So here's a fake example. I worked this one out with ChatGPT. Company called TechSolutions, right? It could be any company, it could be anything. TechSolutions noticed that they were having increased turnover rates, declining job satisfaction, and employee burnout. Something was wrong. Something was going wrong. So what did the CEO of the company, we called her Laura Johnson, what did CEO Laura Johnson do? So first thing she did was an assessment, an understanding of what's going on. An anonymous employee survey to understand everybody's needs. So the first step is really getting an appreciation of what is not whole, what is not healthy in the situation that exists here. Is it a person? Is it a process? Is it an environment? Is it a culture? What is it? And to do it in a way that's safe so that people feel comfortable answering these questions. So first, step one is an assessment and understanding. Then, number two, like no surprise, Laura then developed a comprehensive plan to implement for professional development, work-life balance issues, health and wellness, and social connection. By covering those aspects, those aren't the work I'm doing at the moment. Those are wider, more global, more rounded, more 360 type ideas that actually make the person overall better. When people appreciate that you want them to be better overall, then they will be better overall for you as well. And so then the third part is not just having the plan in the implementation, it's providing the resources and the support for people to go through the wellness initiatives and the health initiatives and the training programs, and creating an incentive situation where people are, through the sense of camaraderie and partnership and teamship, are creating a culture and an environment where everybody is participating in that work. And then 4 is after the resources and after the plan and after the assessment is again creating that I'm speaking too fast, a culture of trust and openness for everybody, and you have the space where people can communicate openly and honestly and trustingly and really discuss things, one-on-ones, two-on-ones, group meetings, things like that, where people can have the space to actually share what they want to share. And then last is you're monitoring and adjusting what's going on. So by having your HR team, if you don't have your HR team, if you are also not only the CEO, Laura Johnson, but also you're the HR person, Laura Johnson, and so on and so forth, you're monitoring progress. You're seeing how people are improving. You're seeing how things are, and you're talking about it, and you're sharing it. And then you're sort of spin cycling that forward. Everybody ultimately is greater success. What ultimately happens is that in the case of TechSolutions Inc., Laura Johnson noticed employee satisfaction levels increasing by 30, 40, 50%. Productivity and innovation went up by 25%. And health and well-being overall improved for the team. Like that is the way to go about this. It's not complicated, and it's just work. And it's important to sort of think about this as the part of your role as a leader. It's not just to make sure that they produce cogs and widgets at the bottom line, but ultimately that you're able to help them succeed at the highest possible level as individuals and as teams. By creating and fostering this supportive, growth-oriented environment, you're enhancing everyone's well-being and success. So to finish it out with 2 quotes. This is a quote based on the presentation itself. Empowerment in this way isn't a gift you give. It's a capacity you enable. Really important fundamental idea. Empowerment isn't a gift you give, it's a capacity you enable. You're not giving empowerment, you're giving the people the capacity to enable their own empowerment, to become empowered in their lives. And the last, and obviously the quote of the day here, is from Benjamin Disraeli: the greatest good you can do for another is not just to share your riches, but to reveal to him his own. That is Coaching the Bible for this week. Bless you with a great, 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 historic and incredible and amazing week. All blessings and all things good happening for you each and every way, each and every day, each and every moment. See you next week.